What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Club and Country. This is episode number 2. And we start today's episode with a brief look at our budget once again. There's around £4 million in transfer budget after the sales in the last episode. And so in today's episode, on the back of the win on the opening day against Bayern Munich's reserve team, it was time for the rebuild to begin. Yes, Dynamo Dresden are going to form a completely new club identity, as we know, only signing and using German players. And I had a ton of players on my transfer shortlist I was scouting right from the very first day I took over as Dresden manager. Obviously, not all of the best young German wonder kids in the game, because some of them will be out of our price range in the first couple of seasons, but quite a few ones that have really decent potential, despite being in their early 20s or in their teens. And the first player I decided to opt to bring in here with Dynamo Dresden for the new era was Finn Ole Becker, a St. Pauli central midfielder, 65 overall, 20 years old. We'd agreed a £1.3 million deal with St. Pauli, one of my former career mode sides, of course, lest we forget, and a mini sell-on clause, which is kind of redundant because the chance of selling the young German players you bring in is very, very low. And we agreed a cheap salary, £3,500 a week, £3,000 sign-on, got a bonus 5-year deal, and Finn Ole Becker becomes our first signing of the window as the rebuild begins here with Dynamo Dresden. So yeah, you can play holding mid as well as CM, though to be honest here, I think he's probably more suited to be playing further forward. He's got 82 stamina, which is what drew me to him initially. But yeah, to me, whilst DM is his secondary position, with the pace and the dribbling and the passing as well, I don't really feel as though a defensive midfield role for him is where he'll be best suited to. So I'm going to push him on playing asymmetrical 4-2-3-1, have one holding mid, one regular central mid, and one attacking mid as well. So a little bit asymmetrical affirmation now. I don't think it'll be too big of a hit as this just the CMs that have just pushed up, just one CM's been pushed up a little bit. And yeah, Becker becomes our first signing of the window. We also brought in a new centre-back as well, Pfeiffer from Darmstadt. I really like the look of this guy, I must admit. 20 years old as well, 64 overall, agreed a 5-year, 1.9k a week deal as we signed him for £300,000, and one of our 3 foreign nationals getting included in the swap deal that was still here. And this guy looks really, really good. Now for Becker, I'm not sure if he would be in our starting 11 on a consistent basis, but I definitely want to make sure this guy is regularly getting game time. Decent defensive stats to begin with. 5-star weak foot, very handy when you're trying to play out from the back. And as you can see already here at just 20 years old, 79 strength, and he's 6'5" as well. So this guy could turn into a real physical monster with development plans and regular game time. He might be 2 ratings lower than Nipping and Ellers as well, but I've definitely got to get this guy enough first team football to develop in this team. To go with a 5-star weak foot as well, that's really handy when playing out from the back. So he becomes our second signing of the window so far, and I must say I'm very excited about him being the guy at the back that holds down the fort. For the third signing I decided to bring in, it was Fabian Greilinger of 1860 Munich. I wanted Conte from Feyenoord, 20 years old, 64 rated. In the end, I went for a guy that was 1 year younger, but 2 ratings lower from 1860. We signed him for £400,000, plus our Greek midfielder that of course can't use Vlachodimos. So that's one of the best things about swapping players in this year's FIFA. It really does significantly reduce the fee you've got to pay for the player you want. We signed on a 5-year, £700 a week deal, absolute steal. And this guy, unlike Pfeiffer and Becker, does show great potential. So our first player that we signed that shows great potential, looks very decent, right mid, left mid and striker listed positions. He's got a bit of pace, not too much, but 81 agility is really handy. And being a left-footed player, I think I probably will play him on the right-hand side and probably move Ransford up top. Now, of course, I mentioned this in the very last episode. Ransford scored our second goal in the win against the reserves of Bayern Munich. Ransford Yeboah is definitely going to be transitioning to play as a striker in this team. I know he can play on the right side of midfield. I know it's his listed position primarily, but he's a striker in my eyes, no doubt about it. And that means that Fabian can come in on that right hand side and again step in with the agility and the balance to shoot with the left foot. What you'll find with me, if you're a new viewer to the channel, is that I really, really like inside forwards. And whilst the wide midfielders in this team should really primarily be secondary fullbacks / wing backs, I'm going to be all out attacking the first season with Dresden. I want to be the top scorers in the league. So my wide midfielders, yes, they'll have to track back a little bit and help out the back three. But yeah, I want inside forwards on the right and left. I want to score as many goals as possible in the first season with Dresden. Unfortunately, I mentioned it in the very first episode, we will probably concede a lot of goals this season with Dresden because I'm not really too familiar playing a 3 at the back system. I'm not very comfortable using it. And for our second game of the season, first one at home, we took on Ingolstadt, fell behind in the first half, and I was thinking, God, man, seriously, I want our home to be a fortress. I don't want to lose in our first ever home game. So we were 1-0 down in the first half. Maya got us back on level terms in the second half. Our left midfielder, now with 8 minutes to go, still tied at 1-1, broke from a counter-attack here as Daffner plays it through to Wyroch off the bench. Diawusi flicks it onto himself here, running through one-on-one, but yep, I had to be a little bit sweaty. I wanted a win in my first game at home with Dynamo Dresden. Cut it across the face of the goal, and who's there to turn it in from close range? He's a striker, not a right midfielder. Ransford Yeboah gets his second in 2. And yeah, I mentioned it in the very first episode. This guy, you know, there are just certain players you can just tell pretty much right from the get-go. They're going to be the main man for you in the first season. Ransford Yeboah. I already feel it. He's got the pace, he's got the energy, he's got the legs. He can run, man. He can run, this guy. And he's also a really good finisher at the ball as well. Ransford Yeboah definitely going to change his position to striker very, very soon. So for my first 2 games, 2 wins on the board. Very, very happy about that to start off with back-to-back victories. The second one was a tough one to get. We did grind away through to get it. And following out, we had our first scouting update of the save as well. Now, of course, in the first episode, I talked about the fact we got ourselves a 5-star scout. Scouting for me in this year's FIFA, I've got to be honest, is kind of hot and cold. You know, I find it really, really hot and cold. There are times where even though I have the best scout in the game, they don't really deliver the type of players I want practically throughout the entire 9 months they're away. But to begin with, in the first scouting update, we did get a couple of decent players, funnily enough, both in the same position. Now, I actually find it quite hard in this year's FIFA, which is kind of ironic because in previous years, this was the position I always had a lot of great youth players in. But now, I don't know if you guys are the same here, but I find it really hard to find good youth academy goalkeepers. We found 2 though, Sasha Hubner and Milan Weiss. Was put Becker, I think it was Becker, into our academy as well. So 3 players coming in and 2 in the goalkeeper position as well, as we look at our fixtures here for August. And yeah, I don't know if you guys are the same as me, but for some reason in this year's FIFA, I find it really hard to get youth academy goalkeepers that show really high potential. Hopefully, with a good start there, 2 decent ones getting picked up to the academy, this will be the series where I find a couple of really good German shot stoppers to be a long-term successor for Manuel Neuer in the German national team at some point. So for our second game of today's episode, first one of August, 3rd of the season so far, taking on Hashing away from home, and I do apologise for my pronunciations. Throughout the course of this series, they will be pretty poor. We took the lead though through Stefaniak, who's currently on loan here, but looks like a pretty decent attacking midfielder. He gave us the opening goal of the game, and then on the stroke of the hour mark here, still leading by a goal. Hadn't been under much pressure at all. Unfortunately, this is a really frustrating goal. You can see one of those where my defending was just really scattered. Again, this is why I don't like playing 3 at the back. I just never feel like the players are organised in this system, you know, and I just don't know what was going on there. The marking was absolutely shocking. Defensive awareness was really poor. And with 17 minutes to go, Hashing would come from behind to take the lead in this game. Once again, some really suspect defending, to say the very least. But I think this is the sort of thing you'll need to expect in the first season with Dynamo Dresden in the 3rd tier, as we taste defeat for the very first time. Now, if you watch my Cork to Glory save that literally just finished a week and a half ago, I mentioned this in League 2, playing in the Football League 2 in England. The games were incredibly topsy-turvy. There were loads and loads of lead changes, and there were just loads of goals getting scored and conceded. I think it's going to be a very similar type of season in the 3rd tier of Germany as well. Playing at such a low level, the goalkeepers couldn't catch a cold. The defending is always really suspect, and in a way, it's frustrating because it means we won't keep many clean sheets. But also it's kind of good as well, because it means that, as you would have seen in that Court to Glory save, the games are never over until the very final whistle. There's always a chance to get back into it. Regardless of what deficit you're in, there's just so many opportunities for goals. There will be many goals getting scored in the first season. So yeah, for our 3rd game of today's episode and 4th for this season here, Hansa Rostock, one of the teams I was considering using for this club and country save, and I'm glad I opted for Dresden because I'm already feeling very in sync with the team and really enjoying what we've started to build here. Taking on Hansa Rostock, one of the commonly used teams in FIFA career mode if you're doing an RTG in Germany. Took the lead early and then doubled the lead 25 minutes in as well. Didn't score in match day 3, so returned with a brace on match day 4. Ransford Yeboah bagging 2 goals in the first 25 minutes. This guy, I'm telling you now, he's never going to play right midfield ever again, man. He's a striker. He's a striker, man. He's got to make sure he develops in that role and not in the right midfield role. I've got to change that position ASAP. So 2 goals up early, 7 minutes later, Rostock would find themselves a goal back into the game to half deficit, so 2-1 with 11 minutes to go. Once again, we're on the break here. We've got a bit of pace in this team as Daphne finds Diawusi down the left-hand side. This guy is our quickest player. Rapid pace this kid's got. Runs in from the left-hand side, rolls across to Stefaniak. There is Ransford Yeboah, and in just match day 4, we already see our first hat-trick of the season. Yeah, I'm not going to say this guy is going to be as good as Samuel Bell, for those who watch my Call to Glory save, but I'm telling you now, he's certainly going to just star in the first season. There's no doubt about that. Hat-trick and a match ball in match day 4 already, was 5th goal of the season, and his stoppage time leading by 2 goals, having our 2-goal cushion, 3-1 up. Bang. Oh my god, absolutely amazing strike from our number 35. Tells the fans to calm down, wraps it up. Might have lost on match day 3, but return with our biggest win of the season so far. 4-1 against Hansa Rostock here in match day 4, and a match ball for Ransford Yeboah. 4 goals in 5 attempts. This kid, I'm telling you, man, he is the real deal, and he is going to be the one to watch in Season 1, no doubt about that. He's definitely going for the Golden Boot, as we'll, of course, be going for the Championship as well. So, as you see, to end today's episode off, I thought I'm not going to bother waiting anymore. I thought I'd give him a few games up top, see if he's ready to play in that position. He definitely is. We're going to change position to become a striker. Very soon he will become one, probably in the very next episode, and after 6 goals in 4, he's got 6 of our first 9 start the season off. We're in 3rd place, 9 points on the board. Decent start despite the first defeat, but we can't have too many slip-ups like that one against Hashing if we are to win the Championship. But that will end today's episode of Club and Country, guys. Big thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed it, and if you have, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of Club and Country as we wrap up the summer transfer window and make a couple new signings on transfer deadline day very soon.